I also want to know
guys-
why the heel was getting stapled and not selling.
What do you mean?
When there was a certain
Well,
part of them.
that was kind of an ode to Tony Montana. That was kind of an ode to the deal in Shaft. Like that I've seen that before in film. Like where the guy kind of gets impervious. Hulk Hogan, that's like saying, why would Hulk Hogan, block and point you?
That's a
and
baby face. Heel Hulk Hogan never did that.
Yeah, but I don't.
There was a part of the
something.
Okay, so the guys take Hangman takes the stapler and he's stapling Swerve. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
And
don't
Swerve
think
is
either
selling.
one of those guys were babyface or heel. They both were products of violence and revenge. Anytime that you want revenge, you lose your ability to be the babyface because what you're doing is wrong. And you start telling the stories. The whole point is to beat each other into submission. To either knock you out or make you not be able to respond.
Yep.
Power driver on the wall. Not only did it take a lot of dexterity to do that with all the blood and the slipping and everything, the sweat, unbelievably risky maneuver as well. Like they did stuff that was death-defying. They also made me feel like, okay, y'all are going too far. Like just stay down. And as a wrestling fan, when you can get somebody that watches a lot of wrestling to go, man, just stay down and be in suspended belief, I cannot nitpick a match like that because they did the job.
I didn't see a crowd asking anybody to stay down. They were actually asking for more violence. And the moment in times that I'm referring to is you said both guys are baby faces going into this match, Mark. I don't consider Swerve.
No, I didn't say that.
You didn't just say
I
that.
said that they both were heels because they both were out for revenge.
Okay, I could have sworn you said that they were both baby faces going in when you started.
No, I didn't say they were babyface.
Okay. Well, when I look at a guy like Swerve who goes into another man's house and basically threatens his family standing over his child's crib, to me, that's the bad guy, despite the fact that the people might have liked Swerve and everything like that. Swerve was getting stapled and he was selling. He gets his cheek stapled and was selling. Then there came a match, a point later on where Hangman, the babyface, is stapling Swerve, and Swerve is no-selling it like Hogan would no-sell punches to the head. And I'm just like, why the no-sell? And then Swerve is stapling himself. That would seem like something a babyface would do. Like after a while, Hangman would get pissed off from getting stapled and then start stapling himself just to show you how crazy the babyface was and what he'd do to achieve victory. These are little things, but these are talking points on the match. And the only reason they're a talking point for me is Dave said it's the best Texas death match he's ever seen. And I'm saying it was a really great Texas death match that had a little psychology points for me that doesn't make it the greatest one I've ever seen.
You both are entitled to your opinion, and it doesn't mean either one of you are right and the other one's wrong. It's your opinion. The only fact in this whole thing is that match stole the show. It was very, very well appreciated by the fans, and that we're sitting here trying to nominate it for one of the best hardcore matches ever. Those are the facts. Everything else is take with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, when I say Texas Deathmatch, I mean Texas Deathmatch because a lot of people are saying the death match that Mick Foley and Terry Funk had in Japan, but that was a death match. It wasn't a Texas death match. What we saw on Saturday was a Texas death match. And as far as the story that they were able to tell in the ring, there's very few matches like that told that type of a story like the one that we saw on Saturday. And Bully made the point about Swerve, and you could take about, the way he was selling those staples and then how he kind of, I guess, for the lack of a better term, hulked up with that evil persona that Swerve has. Swerve won over that crowd. Now, with a lot of, you could say it was 50-50, but I think it was more, that house was more into Swerve than they were into Hangman Page. I mean, I really felt like during the course of that match that Swerve really won over those fans in LA on Saturday.
We found out during that match that Swerve is one of the top talents in AEW. He's one of the top talents in the world of pro wrestling. When has Swerve had a bad match?
No, he's not somebody that has a bad match. And here's the thing that I love about Swerve, because when you think of Swerve, you don't think of that type of a match. But a lot of fans of Swerve are fans of independent wrestling. Remember, he went through a death match phase, I want to say like 7 or 8 years ago, before he got signed by WWE, because he's somebody who appreciates the art of pro wrestling. Like you mentioned, Bully, about that it's a certain way of telling your art, especially when it comes to pro wrestling. Swerve wanted to know everything about the world of pro wrestling, and he wanted to excel at every type of match. Swerve can give you an all-out brawl. He could give you a technical match, but he's also well steeped in death match wrestling knowledge, and I think he showed that on Saturday. So I give Swerve a lot of credit as far as, like, Swerve is one of those few wrestlers that could do just about anything in the world of pro wrestling, and I think he showed that on Saturday.
Putting on 15 pounds of muscle didn't hurt either. When he first came to AEW, I thought he was too skinny. And I used to tell him all the time, man, you're gonna have to put some rocks in your pockets. And for whatever reason, like it finally hit him that he needed to get bigger and look stronger. Because people associate dominance with how you look and your size. People always criticize Vince McMahon because Vince McMahon was a sizist. He wanted guys that were 6'3", 6'5", 250 pounds and plus, because it looked like in a dark alley that's an imposing size human. And now Swerve being, close to 220 is way better than Swerve at 195. You tell me that you don't see the difference. You can see it. It's very visible. Anytime you gain 20 pounds, if I gain 20 more pounds, I'm going to look really chunky. If I lose another 20, people are going to be like, hey, man, are you sick? Like, it's visible. And I think that it has benefited him. Page is a big guy. If Swerve was 195 like he was at NXT, in there with Page, he would have made Page look like a giant. You see what I'm saying? They were equals in size.
Yeah, they were equals in size. And, you guys are talking about, Swerve won over a crowd. I just don't think that it's the heel's job to win over the crowd, over the babyface. And I also think they constructed a finish. If they would have thought about it a little more, they could have constructed a finish where Swerve would have won the match in a way that was desperate and not definitive. And the most important thing about this, and I think we can bring this up in after we take a break, is this match is only as effective as what these two guys do next. If all three of us can agree that it was the match of the night and that it stole the show, I'm assuming we can also agree that Swerve and Hangman need to take steps forward after this match, correct?
I don't know about Hangman, but I definitely think with Swerve. I look at that match on Saturday, and no offense to Hangman, Hangman's been there, done that. this is where I feel like Swerve needs to take that next step to be a main event wrestler.
Okay, I'll compromise with you, and I'll say it's more important for Swerve to move forward because we have seen Hangman in that main event spotlight before, correct?
Yeah. He's been champion. Yep.
Okay, so right, there we go. So we haven't seen Swerve. So it's very important for creative in AEW, seeing that this performance that Swerve turned in, seeing that, as you guys said, turned the crowd, and a lot of the people like the fact that he won. What do we do with him on Wednesday? Do we open the show on Wednesday with Swerve?
I don't know because of what we saw with MJF and Adam Cole. So I don't know if you start the show. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have asked that as a real question. I should have said it in a way where these are the ideas that should be going through the heads of creative. It's like I always use Stone Cold as my example. Steve hit so hard on any given night. It's like, okay, this was so over. What do we do with him next? So Swerve needs to have something definitive this Wednesday night to follow up on his performance. If not, people are going to forget real quick. I agree with that. I mean, they definitely need to do something. 100%. Here's another thing, and I'll ask you, Mark, and I'll ask you, Bully. Like, do you use Swerve moving forward as more of a babyface than a heel? We've been seeing positive reactions for Swerve. He got a definite positive reaction on Saturday in LA. People love Nana. Nana is highly entertaining. That dance that Nana does is going viral. And everybody's talking about
that now on the other side.
No, I'm asking it now. Like, we'll go long here. Since we're on this thread, I know it may sound ridiculous to some, but you're talking about definitive moments in people's career and how people react. Everybody's talking about this Texas death match. There's polls out there where it's a landslide. People felt that it was the best match of the show. As Bully said, there was a definitive face and a definitive heel going into that match, but you wouldn't know it by the crowd reaction on Saturday. And as you guys know, people feed into crowd reactions. Usually if you have a positive one, that carries over if people are watching that show. Prince Nana has been going viral. There's GIFs with Prince Nana's dance. Like, is it outlandish to throw out the question if maybe moving forward you use Swerve as more of a babyface than a heel?
Prince Nana's dance is a gift. Like, this is the gift that keeps on giving.
But everybody in the crowd is doing the Nana dance. Like, Nana's in the corner of Swerve.
You don't have to make him a babyface. Steve Austin was not defined by whether or not he was good or bad, but he was Steve Austin. He was him. He did what he wanted to do. He did not fold to the status quo. He didn't pick a side. He was the side. He picked his side over everybody else's. And I think that if Swerve can stay in that lane and just be Swerve and not worry about good and evil, like, he can tween the line. But I don't think that that's the way it's going to go.
Bully?
First, when you just said do the Nana, boom, that's a hit right there. Put it on a t-shirt and make sure everybody's dancing.
Remember, it is a shirt. It's a shirt right now.
It is a shirt right now?
It's a shirt, yeah.
Okay, so do the Nana is a thing for a babyface. You don't want people dancing with Nana and hating Swerve. I, however, see no babyface potential right now in that act. That's got heel written all over it. Neither one of them look like baby faces. Yeah, Nana might do the dance, but every time he does the dance, he should get knocked out. Swerve has a very sinister look to him. I think there's a lot of miles left in Swerve as a heel. No reason to turn him babyface. If for some reason the crowd 100% turns him babyface, a la on his entrance, they're cheering. During his matches, his segments, his promos, they're cheering, and they just don't want to hate him, then creative has to listen to that and go into a different direction. It's kind of like what Mark just said would happen with Steve. But I don't really see babyface in Swerve right now.
And the reason I bring it up, and I know we're kind of going on a tangent here, but it's based on the match that we saw, which I loved, and I love that violent side. And truly, guys, like, you know, we've talked so much about AEW needs to be an alternative to the WWE. You're not getting that type of match in the WWE. I feel like that match on Saturday in the Texas Death Match, probably the most violent match I've ever seen from a major company. I can't think of like a WWF or a WCW or a match or any match like that being that violent. I think it's the most violent match we've ever seen from a major company. But the reason that I bring up what we're saying here is that, Bully, to me, there was probably only 2 matches on Saturday where there was a defined babyface and heel. Hangman Page and Swerve and Jay White and MJF. Those were the only 2 matches where I feel like there was a defined babyface. Oh, and the opening match, obviously, with Sting and Christian. But the other matches, like, there wasn't really a defined babyface or heel. So this is one of the few matches we saw on Saturday, and that was a 4-hour show. But yet the reaction from the crowd, you wouldn't know it, because I really feel like most of that crowd was behind Swerve. That's why I threw out that question.
Is that because creative has not cut out these characters enough into baby faces and heels? Or is it because they were in California, which is that snarky, smart mark kind of crowd who's going to, that almost that PWGS crowd who's going to go in the opposite direction and kind of, throw a monkey wrench into things.
Well,
the feed.
Yeah, to answer the first part of your question, the story was a defined babyface or heel. I mean, it's one of the few stories in AEW 1, and definitely one of the few stories where there was a defined babyface or heel. Case in point, John Moxley and Orange Cassidy, that crowd split. Chris Statlander, Julia Hart, like that, the crowd split. I thought that was defined. Swerve is your heel, Hangman Page is your babyface. But I would say, unless somebody else calls that was actually there that could tell me different, I would think that was like 70-30 in favor of Swerve. So maybe, Bully, you're right. Maybe it was like kind of like that smart mark crowd where they're going to go the opposite of what they should. But I also feel like it's kind of a trend in AEW where it's like, we love everybody. You've said that before, Bully, where we love everybody. We just want to see a great match. So I love this. This is a great match. So I'm going to cheer for Hangman and I'm going to cheer for Swerve. I think we get a lot of that with AEW. But if there was one defined story, it was that story, but it just didn't play out on Saturday. I know we talked a lot about Ronda Rousey this past Friday here on Busted Open and Ronda's appearance at Pro Wrestling Revolver out in LA. Then over the weekend, we see, and nothing is official, but we see Ronda Rousey at Ring of Honor. Mm-hmm. I think a great way to quiet the naysayers when here she is wrestling at an independent show on Thursday and then wrestling at Ring of Honor on Friday. Good showing for Ronda Rousey, I believe. Your thoughts?
Yeah, kind of out of nowhere. Well, and I saw her promoting that PW Revolver or that show before she had and I was even shocked about that. I was like, oh, Ronda's doing an independent show. I was like, oh, that's cool. But then I saw Marina was involved, and so it just kind of made sense because I know they're really, really great friends. I'll be honest, when at first I saw her, I was a little bit like, I was so confused. So has Ronda signed with AEW?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because Tony Khan, president of AEW, owner and president of AEW. And by the way, Mr. Khan, if you're listening, you have one more week to take your place on Tony Time before we find another host for Tony Time. So you do have one more week left. This is what Tony Khan had to say. He said this: she's not signed, but we had a great conversation. It came about, of course, there was some unfinished business. They had that match at Pro Wrestling Revolver, and I thought it would be great for our fans to see them settle it in the ring. at the Wrestling Revolver show. They had a tag match, and to be honest, I had spoken to them, and I thought it would be great to have a match to build some interest and have the story come back to Ring of Honor. So she's not signed, but he said they had a great conversation. So maybe this is something that could possibly happen in the future.
Okay, awesome. So that kind of changed my perspective. Once I realized, I was like, okay, so she's not signed. Because at first I was a bit like, how are you going to debut someone like Ronda Rousey on, especially because I knew he had an announcement coming up. And so then I started to speculate, okay, well, so is Ronda, because we thought about, oh, is Ronda the announcement? And I was like, wait, is she the announcement? And no offense, but she's debuting on a taped show. Like, I couldn't understand it aside from the relationship and their relationship and stuff. So then I was kind of like thrown off a bit. Hell of a pop, hell of a reaction. And I just wish that it had been on the live show. I really wish it, because I think that the people would have went nuts. I think it was someone who I didn't think, I won't say that I didn't think Tony would ever hire or book, but I just think it's completely separate of like what his vision is of wrestling and stuff is. So it was kind of like a shock, I think, to a lot of people. But yeah. It was really cool. It's cool to see her show up, and then it's cool to see when you have great friends like that would do anything for you. You know what I mean? In that sense, and that relationship. And they've been, I mean, they went to camps together and everything else, so they've been friends a very, very long time. And I just thought that was really cool. It was really, really cool.
You're right.
Go ahead, Mark.
You're right, Mickey. She deserves the debut on a major televised program. It's only, going to make it even better for whatever company signs her. I mean, she's one of those people that we were just talking about. I feel like as good as Ronda is and as much notoriety as she has, she can be better. And I think that the next time that we see her, she will be better because she already looks more comfortable. I think that she had a lot of pressure on her. Maybe you give her a mouthpiece too. If you don't feel like she can ever be the Ric Flair promo cutting person, don't have her talk. Give up the AEW or New Japan or ROH or TNA version of Paul Heyman. Like, do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, but I don't work there.
You work at TNA.
You want a wrestler, bully?
I would work with Ronda in a heartbeat. And I would talk for her in a heartbeat.
I don't think she's a bad talker. I think she's a pretty damn good talker.
I think Ronda has improved significantly on the microphone.
Yeah.
See, I actually disagree with that, Bully, and I got a lot of flack.
You disagree with me that she's gotten better on the microphone?
Yes, I do. Because, I got a lot of flack on social media because I defended Ronda on the microphone. And a lot of people said, Dave, you were always critical with Ronda on the microphone. I don't remember that, especially in her first run, because this is where I disagree with you, Bully. I thought she was much better on the microphone her first run than she was with her second run. I thought with her first run, she sounded unlike any other wrestler, especially in the WWE, cutting a promo. It sounded very natural. It sounded more like the way that real people talk when they're really upset and they're really angry and they're frustrated. Like, you're gonna trip on your words. You're not gonna pause after every sentence to wait to get a crowd reaction. Like, I felt like in her second run, and I think we could agree her second run was not nearly as good as her first run, and it was a little bit flat. I thought
too produced, Dave.
It was
I
overproduced. And you know how it is when you get a promo. There's nothing worse than getting a sheet of paper of a bunch of words, especially when we have to think about it too, where she's just starting to understand the wrestling aspect because it's so different coming from MMA to wrestling. So the psychology and the wrestling and the moves and all those things and the storytelling and the in-betweens there, like, I don't really know that anyone focused with her on the promos itself. And those can be harder in understanding those and being confident in that, plus memorizing all these words and if it's over. I feel like in the first run, she probably wasn't as scripted and overproduced as for in her speaking.
And I was talking about this with Bully over the weekend. I'm watching SmackDown on Friday. By the way, your husband Nick Aldis doing a tremendous job.
Thank you so much.
I like the sit down that he had as well, and what we saw with Axiom later on SmackDown on Friday.
Wow.
But I said to Bully, I said, man, there was a segment, and I love all three of these women, and I think all three are tremendous wrestlers. It was Shotzi, Charlotte, and Bianca, and they were cutting a promo in the back. And my God, I wanted to pull my hair out because it was, all right, I'm going to talk and then I'm going to pause and then you're going to talk and then Charlotte's going to pause and then Bianca's going to talk. It's not the way people talk. That's not the way people talk. And Shotzi was like, I can't wait to get in a ring and I'm going to kick their butts. Who talks like that? Nobody talks like I'm going to kick their butts. Come on now. It's so watered down and so produced. I didn't think Ronda was like that with her first run. Like, she would get angry. She wouldn't just scream and yell. There would be a calmness to her voice, and then she would build to getting angry. Like I said, she would trip on her words. That's more the way people talk when they're frustrated and angry than pausing and waiting till the other person speaks to retaliate. I felt like there was a very natural ability to the way Ronda talked with her first run.
Yeah.
Mark?
I want to know why. Go ahead, Mark.
We step on each other sometimes because it comes to your brain what you want to say and what fits the case. And there's nothing wrong with that. Dave, you said this to me a few years ago. Mark, interrupt. I'll stop you and I'll say, no, go ahead. You direct this situation.
We do that all the time.
That's the way real talking is.
Yeah.
And Ronda needs to be afforded that more than your normal trained wrestler to doing promos because she's emotional. And when somebody's emotional, just let them talk. Let them get it off their chest. And then you deal with what comes out.
Bully?
And I'm good.
Bully?
Let's see. Who main evented WrestleMania in Giant Stadium?
Becky, Charlotte, and Ronda.
How come those girls got the main event spot?
Ronda.
There was a combination of a few things, but Ronda Rousey.
So long.
It was amazing, but that was pretty much. I mean, you get to think of what it was huge to have her cross over. I mean, I was there. It was massive.
It was
massive to have her cross over, and it elevated as we were already getting opportunities. We're getting things and at Women's Evolution and the Evolution and all these things, but even Evolution. Ronda was a huge part of Evolution, the all women's show. So, and I always, so it's just like all those things. And it really kind of came within her crossing over and coming in. It's just.
Good Morning America, The Morning Show, Jay Leno, you name
She's
it.
mainstream. Everybody knows the name Ronda Rousey.
So
and now we don't blink when women main event WrestleMania. We don't even blink twice.
So we took a mainstream name like Ronda Rousey. And we can all agree that as great as Charlotte is and as great as Becky is, if it wasn't for Ronda, those women don't main event WrestleMania.
Agreed.
So what does AEW do? We've taken Ronda Rousey, and I don't care what explanation, excuse, yada, yada there is. We've taken a well-known name, a WWE superstar, an MMA champion, everything that Ronda Rousey is, and we put her on a Wrestling Revolver show, and now she might be on Ring of Honor, and it's on social media.
Wrestling Revolver has nothing to do with AEW.
Whatever it is, this should have been much bigger.
I disagree.
You can disagree until the cows come home, and you'll be
There's no cows here
with no money in your pocket.
I don't have my first wife. I'm not with my first wife, and there's no cows coming home.
That's not nice to say.
Wow.
Let me finish. Nice. Wow. Let me finish what I'm.
No, let me finish what I was saying. I waited for everybody to finish. If you want to make Ronda Rousey in Ring of Honor a big deal, there's a way to do it. I would never have put her on this show. I would have never exposed Ronda Rousey. I would have held on to her until I knew I definitively had her.
But
And
she may
then-
not ever. You may never have her. She's not signed, Bully. She may never be signed by AEW. This is something that Ronda wanted to do. She specifically asked to do this.
Then don't throw it out there in any way, shape, or form.
Why
Let her
not?
do it.
I feel like Ronda, this is something Ronda wants to do. And this is to me, this is throwing back in everyone's face, Bully, about all the people that she didn't pay her dues and she didn't do anything. Now she's wrestling
Now
on an
all of a sudden
independent
she
show.
had 1 match, 2 matches on an indie show, and all of a sudden now she paid her dues.
I didn't say that. All I'm saying is that everybody said that everything was handed to her and she never did anything outside of the WWE. She's proving all those people wrong.
No,
She
Dave,
did a
having
pro
2
wrestling-
matches is not proving anybody wrong. In
Well,
my
And
Bully,
eyes.
to
so what?
everyone
But
saying,
this
can I
is
just
something
say,
she wants to do, Bully.
Great.
So
Yeah.
Great. I want to own a
Gotta
strip club and play
start
rock and
somewhere.
roll.
wait, so Bully, so if you're Sammy Callahan, you don't put Ronda Rousey on Pro Wrestling Revolver?
What I'm saying is, if there was a chance of having Ronda Rousey in AEW, you can give her match that she wants to have, okay? And if the video is out there on social media, so be it, okay? Save Ronda Rousey. If you have a 1% chance of getting her, you save her. And then Tony makes an announcement in the Tony announcement way, and Tony stands in the middle of the ring and bring Ronda Rousey out, and you offer Ronda Rousey an AEW contract. And then Ronda Rousey turns around and says, thank you, but no thank you. What? You don't want an AEW contract? Tony, with all due respect, I want a Ring of Honor contract. Now you've just elevated Ring of Honor with a major star.
Oh.
Dang, he
Bully
dropped
Bully
his
threw
head
And
down
he's
his
out of
headset.
here.
Bully threw down
And
his
he walked
headset.
off home run
And,
to the.
look at that calf definition, would you?
and then, you know what? And I wanted to actually give him his flowers. I actually wanted to say, you know what? Everything
was
you
good.
just said,
He looped it.
I
really
agree
good.
with 100%. You know, Bully, put your headset back on, you son of a bitch. I was just going to say, you know what? You're right. Like that. I mean,
Wow.
you know,
You're right.
I can't
Take it. Just take
disagree
it.
or
Hurry up and
argue
take
with
it
that.
before he takes
Like,
it back.
I know. I'm giving you your flowers, and you're right. I'm making a joke about my first wife. She wasn't.
That was
you know,
at
down
least
by any
4 or
stretch.
5.
That was mean.
That
mean.
was over the wall.
That was anger talking.
Oh man, people
but-
are fighting over the ball. Golly, wow, that was a shot.
And you know what, Bully? You know what? You know what, Ronda? I know this is something you want to do, and there's a lot of talk because of what you did at Pro Wrestling Revolver on Thursday. But if there's any kind of slim chance that you would ever come and work with me, this is what I would like to do. Bully, I can't argue. Yeah, you're right.
Self-promotion.
You're right. You're right. You're right. LaGreca's wrong, and Bully's right. There you go. Put it up on the billboard.
See how he worked himself in there, Bully?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mickey, did you see that?
It was, yeah, it was a bit of magic right
Dave said, hey, I'm shooting my shot. Shit.
there.
Come on the show and let's do a show together.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, and that's cool. You know what? I guess I didn't even really realize that Pro Wrestling Revolver is, in fact, Sammy Callahan's promotion. And
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Pro
didn't
Wrestling
realize
Revolver, yeah.
that. Yeah, that's
If
awesome.
I was Ronda, I would do everybody's shows, Mickey. I would try to build my.
I wouldn't.
Man,
Look, if I was
MLW,
Ronda, I'd be making that money. If they want to pay me
hell yeah.
to come do their
Can they
shows
pay
and
me?
to put some asses in the seat, and it's a match that I want to do, sure. But she doesn't have to. She doesn't have to go do these shows.
No,
Well,
but
neither
That
did-
because
think
she
about how
wants
good
to,
it
and
is
because of
for
her
her.
relationship with Marina. And I even go like, okay, so it's Tony. I don't know if professionally, just because I wanted to and I love my friend, if it made sense business wise just to go do then the Ring of Honor, if they're aside from a hefty payday, you know what I mean? Like a nice chunk of change, and to be able to do a match I want, because most people probably aren't going to be, most promotions now, Mark, I don't think we'll be able to afford what Ronda's
can't
asking
afford her.
price should be if she's not charging.
No,
that.
but there's a certain standard, and pay the standard, and then let Ronda go and do her, because like I want to see her at MLW. I want to see her at New Japan. I want to see her make the runs. Every company that there is, I want to see her. Even if she said, you know what, I want to wrestle some of maybe the top 5 girls on the indie scene.
Yeah. You know what she did? That's
pick
where you
5.
get a hell of an agent.
Sounds
and then
like
you book
Cody.
her as an
Sounds like Cody.
attraction. You book
There's
her as a
there
main
you
event
go.
attraction.
There's a
And you
way
can
Because
put-
now she can cut her teeth
Free
and
agent.
prove that I don't need to be with WWE. I don't need to be with AEW.
I'm the baddest bitch
Ronda
on the planet.
Rousey. I'm the baddest bitch on the planet, and I'm going to go out here and I'm going to perform at a high level, and I'm going to get what I never got before, and that's over on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give the brand a bump, not having a company giving me a bump.
Mm-hmm.
Ronda needs to do it on her own. And I man, when I talked to her, she was relaxed. She was like, "Hey, Mark, how you doing? It's good to see."
Yeah,
she was
she's
so
got cool
relaxed.
confidence.
She never was like that. She always felt like
Because look at what happened to her in the WWE. That girl came in with a giant smile on her face, knowing that her hero, Roddy Piper, had given her the jacket and the kill. And man, there's life after MMA, and this pro wrestling thing is going to be so great. She was so excited to be there. And then this thing called social media destroyed it for her. And I think she's trying to recapture that initial love for pro wrestling. I'll do something with my friend, and I'll go back, and I want to try to find it again. There is a way to make this work, and it's been done before, because you guys were talking about the astronomical booking fee because it's Ronda Rousey, right? My suggestion would be to follow the 2 guys who I believe do the best jobs on the indies that I have ever seen before. And it started with Matt Hardy, and Matt Cardona has taken it to the next level.
Cardona.
Here's what you do. You bring the booking fee down to an affordable rate for the booker. Maybe even cut it in half. But you keep all your merchandise.
Yeah.
Because you are going to clean up on merch. Cardona doesn't even care about the booking fee. He makes the booking fee quite affordable because he knows he's going to clean up on merch. Thus, he can make all these shots, and he's making it all on the back end because he's confident in his brand. I think plenty of people out there would love to get FaceTime with Ronda Rousey. Let me get my 8x10. Let me get my photo with her. And that's where she can charge the premium, because now the money is coming out of the people's pockets. Now they're paying high end for Ronda Rousey. That's how you make it work.
I mean, that if that's possible and she's willing to do it, Bully, I would love for that to happen. And then you mentioned Matt Hardy and Matt Cardona as far as like what they did with the promoters. I would take a page out of Cody Rhodes's book, and I would come out and Mickey, you kind of said it and made me think about it. He had that bucket list. He had that checklist that he came out with everything that he wanted to do now that he wasn't a part of the WWE, and the opponents he wanted to face and the events he wanted to be at. I would love for Ronda to do something very, very similar, because let's face it, Ronda was getting booed for the last, year that she was with the WWE, for no other reason because the fans, and a lot of it again goes back to greatness hate. But these 2 appearances that she made over the last week, she got a huge pop at Pro Wrestling Revolver and Ring of Honor. I guarantee you, Mickey, if she was to do a tour of the indies, there would be standing room only, and she would get so much love from that independent wrestling crowd. That's what I think.
The same ones that love to hate her. Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Yeah. and the internet people that bashed Ronda, they couldn't do better. None
Not
of
on
them.
their best day.
Not on their best day. And there's very few. I'll go so far as to say established wrestlers that would have done better, because especially with the pressure that she was under. Now, I was just at an appearance with Bret Hart was there. Bret Hart had a line out the building. Mickie, you were there. Bret Hart had a line out the door. They said that he did 500 autographs, 500 people. 500, Dave, all at 120 a pop.
Damn.
You do the math.